right. Just give me 1 minute here, guys. All right, let me just make sure it's working. All right, awesome. We are live in the Facebook group. We are good to go. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all so much for being on tonight. I cannot even express to you how excited I am for tonight's meeting, a very special guest. Right before I introduce him, though, I do want to just mention, sorry, I took notes on it today. So today, Green Compass just launched the tickets for the Summer Summit, which is a virtual summit. And these are the things that you want to plug into with the company. I promise you, they always have amazing things to discuss as far as new products and all those types of things. This will be a virtual conference, hopefully the very last virtual conference. We are hoping after that, the next annual one will be a live conference. But they just went on sale. If you go in your back office into your My Orders and Products section, $49 gets you the ticket, $79 gets you the ticket with a bunch of swag. And I have been informed that you want to have this before June 1st. Because everyone who has it before June 1st, they have something special planned. Now, they won't say exactly what, because that's what they do. But you just want to make sure that, you have it, you're ready to go. And when that is, I think it's in July, middle of July, it's going to be awesome. So just wanted to kind of make that announcement. And then, man, I'm excited. So Darin Kidd, this guy, when I first started my Green Compass journey, it's very much just like running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and never really dove into much of the mindset stuff. And Green Compass had hired Darin to, help train, because this is what he has done. He has built, multiple like multimillionaire like network marketing like business. So he has been where all of us have been, from ground zero to the friggin' top. And when he came in and started doing his trainings, it just blew me away about all the little things that you can change to drastically make a big difference over the long term of your business. And I'm living it now, because I made a lot of these changes that he had kind of spoke to. And it wasn't like an instant, like all of a sudden my business started blowing up. It was just slowly over time, everything just started to like take off. So without further ado, Darin, I'm so excited for you to be on here. I hope everyone has a notepad and a pen. Take it away. I can't thank you enough for being on here.
All right. I appreciate that. And how's the volume? Is that good?
Perfect. Yeah, it's great.
All right. Well, listen, if you can turn on your camera, if you're on Zoom, I would love to see your smiling faces. And if you're on Facebook, I can go back and look at the comments a little bit later, but it's definitely an honor and a pleasure to be invited, because Devin is doing all the right things. And for all of you that, you're all a part of the same team. And so, his servant leadership and his heart and how much he cares about each and every one of you. And that's one of the reasons I'm like, absolutely, man, if I can help you, I'm happy to jump on because I've seen him, be a very busy person, but yet go out there and build, a business that very few people ever build in network marketing. And so I just appreciate you. And I know all of you know that you're very blessed to have him as a leader, and, definitely don't take that for granted, because I remember I joined a company and the guy sponsored me. And the next day, he never had a conversation with me for the next 13 years. He's like, he blessed and released me, right? But anyway, well, I appreciate that. And, for all of you that are participating in this training, whether you're live or you're on replay. All right. Now, how many of you, first of all, I can see you now. I can see a lot of faces. How many of you heard there's a really good looking dynamic speaker going to be on this training tonight? Anybody hear that? Okay. A few of you. Jordan says yes. Tracy says, well, he couldn't make it. That's why Devin invited me. I had to stand in for this good looking guy who was a dynamic speaker, but I am a hot trainer. Okay. And some of you are looking a little closer like, nah, Darin, you're not that hot. Not that kind of hot. Honest, open, and transparent. So you're going to find that my training, I don't try to candy coat it. I don't try to tell you something I'm not going to tell you something that's not true, because I'm not doing you any favors. And when you tell someone they can get in, they can make a lot of money, they can do nothing. Number one, we would be lying to them, right? Or if somebody's telling you that you can do that somewhere else, they're either lying to you or it's illegal. So run from those people. But it's okay. I know if you're on here tonight watching this or watching the replay, then hey, listen, I don't mind paying the price if the promise is clear. And you're willing to do. Just you showing up, by the way, I want to congratulate you, because you're ahead of the masses just by showing up. Most people wouldn't even show up to invest in themselves, which, by the way, people go like, man, right now you're hearing about crypto and you're hearing about all these stock, the stock market. And, people are like, man, what's a great investment? I will give you the number one best investment tip I have. It's the number one investment you can ever make. I will guarantee you it's investing in you. It's investing in you. So to share with you my story, because people hear this part, they hear, well, let me just take you back. My first 7 years in network marketing, I was in network marketing for 28 years before I became a trainer and a coach and a speaker. And I know some of you are going, Darin, you look 25. How are you in there 28 years? Well, stop some more. No, I know you're not saying that. Don't you like how I put words in your mouth and then say them back to me and then thank you for saying it? All right. So anyway, I like to have fun. Can you tell? But yeah, 28 years. I'm 48. So about, I was 20 years old when I got started. My first 7 years, I failed. And not once, but over and over and over again. And I got to the point, I was a part of the NFL, the No Friends Left Club, that NFL, not the cool one. And I got to the point, I said, I will never do this again. I'm done. Like I remember telling my wife, this is a true story. And when I asked Devin, hey, listen, who's going to be on the training? He's like, look, we got so many new people, our team's exploding. And so I want to boil it down and break it down to the basics. I want to share with you my real story, because some of you are going to have an aha moment on this training tonight that's going to take your business to a whole nother level. Okay. And so if that sounds good, let me know in the chat. And if you have an aha moment, let me know in the chat. If you go, hey man, I needed to hear that. That's an aha moment for me. And so I got to the point where we were in Toys R Us, and this guy approached me and he goes, don't I know you? And I'm like, are you in this company? And I mentioned the name of the network marketing company. And he's like, yeah, are you? I'm like, nope, but you all use the same stupid prospecting line. No, I'm not in your company. And I told my wife, when he walked away, I go, the next person that approaches me about a home-based business, I'm gonna knock them out. Even if it's a church, I'm just gonna say, hey, I was laying hands on them. I was praying for them, right? Just really hard hands. And I wasn't gonna do that, but that's how frustrated I was. And so when my 22-year-old was born, my wife and I have 5 kids, 28, 25, 22, 16, and 13, 3 girls and 2 boys, which explains my haircut. Okay. And let me give you, here's an aha moment for you. Okay. Be careful if you work from home, because you can have a lot of kids, right? Just be careful. There's a little tip for you. No, but that's why I do what I do. But the 22-year-old was born. We were bankrupt. We were applying for food stamps. I had my car repossessed. We were on Medicaid. And I'm a college dropout. My wife's a college dropout. We live in a small town still to this day, little town in Virginia. We have 5 traffic lights in the entire town. I think it's 1,500 people in the town and maybe 10,000 in the county if you go out many miles. And I was depressed. Yeah, I went to the doctor, and I remember he put me on Zoloft, I think is what it was at that time, some kind of antidepressant, because when you can't feed your kids, you can't support your wife, couldn't make it through college, couldn't keep a job. They repossessed my car. And, people that say that money's not everything. No, it's not everything. But what is it? Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar said it ranks up there next to oxygen. It's not everything, but it ranks next to oxygen. And that's the reason my story resonates with a lot of people, because they can relate to wanting to feed your family healthy foods. It's expensive to eat healthy, right? Whole Foods should not be called Whole Foods. It should be called Whole Paycheck. And knowing what it's like to see my wife and my babies pull out of the driveway in a beat up, tore up, dangerous car because I couldn't put them in a safe car, wanting to give, and help family members or give in church. Your heart says give, you don't have it to give, right? Or to see how some doctors, not all of them, but I remember how some doctors treated my babies different on Medicaid than having real health insurance. I know what it's like to get spiritual with the ATM. I don't know if anybody's ever done that. You don't have to admit it, but you go to the ATM and you want to pull out $20 or just a few dollars to get gas, and you don't think it making you take it out in $20 increments until you have less than $20 in your bank account. So I know how all of that feels. And I forget what I've heard it said before, where like you can live so long without water, so long without food, so long without oxygen, but you can't live any time without hope. I had no hope, but thank God someone looked at me, not as how I was, but how I could be with my God-given potential. And things changed. The next 13 years, I went out and I started making a 6-figure income, built a team of thousands of people, did extremely well. And then I made some tweaks. Okay. I made some tweaks to some things. My mindset, number one, and I went out in the next 40 months, I generated more income than I would have 40 years prior combined. Now, that's not and not only that, people go, Darin, Success from Home magazine 6 times. Like I walk into Barnes and Noble and there was my wife and my kids and I, interviewed by Grant Cardone and, in John Maxwell's house and an advisory council and all of those things, which is none of that is to impress you. It's to express and to prove to you that if I can do it, anyone can do it. And that's true. I just share with you the story. So no matter where you are tonight or watching this on replay, whether you're frustrated and you're stuck and you're like, I would just like to get a dang customer, right? If I could just make enough to pay off my credit card, which by the way, there's a guy that's made $80 million in network marketing before he retired from the industry, Larry Thompson. And they call it the Thompson rule. And he goes, look, 80% of the people come into this business to make $300 to $500 a month. 15%, $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and 5% more than that. Now, those are important numbers to remember, even when you're getting customers and getting customer getters. Because we feel like, I know I did, I used to think that we had to have these big money stories, and you don't. And so none of what I'm sharing with you is an income claim. It's not a promise. Was it work? Yes. Was it frustrating? Yes. But if I can do it, you can do it. So no matter whether you're stuck and you would love to just get it off the ground, or you're at the point going, you know what, I am tired of being, sick and tired of being at this same level. I want to break through to the next level. No matter where you are, I've been there. And they say it's wise to learn from experience, but it's wiser to learn from someone else's experience. So why would and this is the way I apply everything in my life. Like when I wanted to take my social media up to another level, right? I'm like, I'm going to go out and I hired one of the top 10 social media experts in the world and paid her, $10,000 for a few hours. And I had friends and family go, man, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, no, it would be stupid for me to spend the next 5 to 10 years trying to figure out what she can teach me in a day. She can compress time frames and shave years off of my learning curve. I paid another guy $15,000 for a few hours. Same thing. I've got one friend of mine that paid Grant Cardone $100,000 for 6 1-hour sessions. And I remember asking him after his first session, I'm like, dang, man, well, was it worth it? He's like, are you kidding me? What he taught me in the first session will make me an absolute fortune if I never had another session. So why spend your entire life? Now, the good news, you don't have to spend, when I did my YouTube channel, right? So my YouTube channel was flat. I have neglected it the last 2 to 3 years. We're getting ready to revamp it. But I'm like, you know what? It was flat. I didn't know what to do. I flew to Vegas and I paid a lot of money to hire one of the top 20 YouTubers in Forbes to learn the different things about YouTube and the strategies and how to rank videos. And even though I've neglected it the last 2 years, I mean, I got one video I did 3 or 4 years ago. It's got almost 1 million views and 70-some thousand subscribers. And again, that's not to brag. That's not impressing you. None of that. It's just to share with you, like, you have the right mindset being on here today, taking notes, listening from your leader like Devin that's been there, because they can shave years off your learning curve, compress time frames, or I like to call it success compression. So with that said, I want to go over 3 things tonight that you have to be successful. And by the way, if you want to, it's just a very simple download. It's free. And I'll put it in the chat. It's darinkid.com/3keys. Okay. darinkid.com/3keys. And you can download it when you get off here tonight, but it just goes along with some of the things I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to go a little more in depth with you. So number 1, you have to be coachable. And I know that sounds so simple. A lot of people are like, Darin, just tell me the skills, tell me the skill set, tell me every little detail of what to do. Because again, I failed for 7 years, but then I learned some things that I went out and recruited over 1,000 people personally myself, right? I recruited hundreds with no social media. I recruited hundreds with social media. I had over 1,000 personal customers when there was no social media, 1,000, and it was hard, over 1,000. Right? And you had to get a license in different states with the product that I was selling and all of that stuff. So how did I go from being so bad to eventually learning what to do and being in the top no matter what company I went to? Because I've learned from the people that had been there and done that. And then I went out and I did the work. But when I say coachable, most people say, how many of you are coachable? Let me see some hands. All right. Now, what that means for most people is as long as you tell me what I want to hear and what I like and what I'm comfortable with, I'm coachable. But let me just share with you this. If it rubs you the wrong way, it was probably meant for you, because success is not in your comfort zone. Success is out. Everything you ever want in your life is outside of your comfort zone. Our comfort zone was designed to keep us safe. Comfort zones look at things that we're familiar with is safe. Anytime you get outside of that comfort zone, it doesn't feel good. And so to get something that we've never gotten, we got to be willing to do something we've never done. And the same thinking and behaviors that got us to where we are not the same thoughts and behaviors that are going to get us to the next level. So to get something different, we must do something different. With my mentor, I had a billionaire mentor. He goes, Darin, you don't make what you want, you make what you are. And if you want to make more, you've got to become more. I met this guy that won the lottery. It's been several years ago, well, many years ago. And I remember going, man, that car is amazing. Like, I've never seen a car like that. And oh my gosh, that necklace you have, like, that probably costs more than my house. And I remember going, man, if you don't mind, I love studying successful people. Like, what do you do for a living? And he said, I won the lottery. And I laughed because I thought he was joking, but he was serious. And so what's fascinating is what he told me they made him do before they ever gave him $1. They made him sit down in a room and watch a series of people's stories saying the lottery is the worst thing that ever happened to them. People committed suicide. They go, I wish I'd have never played it. It was the worst thing I've ever done. And I recently heard that within 30 some months, most people, not only did they lose all the money, they go back to a place worse than where they were ever before they won the lottery. Anybody know why that is? They didn't become a multimillionaire. They were given millions of dollars, and our income always comes back to where we are. Now, if you, Stephanie, you're exactly right. They don't have the skills, they don't have the mindset, they didn't become a multimillionaire. So our income always comes back to where we are. When I got paid minimum wage bagging groceries in high school, that was simple problems. And we get paid based on not only the value that we bring to the marketplace, but the size of the problems that we can solve. So when I started making a lot of money in network marketing, there were bigger problems. But I didn't mind being a very high money earner problem solver, right? And because I'm like, man, I have these challenges at my job, but it never has the ability to get me where I want to be in my life. So I don't mind dealing with the challenges and the emotional roller coaster if I have a potential to change my family's financial future. And so being coachable, I've had doctors that when I was a distributor, they would, and that I've coached, they would come on board and go, listen, I am a doctor. Like, I am not going to go do these simple little cheesy things that you're telling me to do. Right? How is that going to make me a lot of money? I'm going to hire my staff and we're going to train them and then blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do ads, and they fail, and they fail hard, and they fail fast. Then I've had doctors that come on board that say, hey, you know what? I'm smart enough to know this. I went to school for all of those years and spent multiple six figures, or I'm multiple six figures in debt to become a doctor. And I know this is a different business. So when they left their background at the door, and they go, just tell me what to do, right? They had a lot of success, went to the top in the company. We wouldn't buy a McDonald's franchise, spend millions of dollars, and saying, hey, you know what? Okay, let me just see let me test you real quick. If you're standing at the counter at McDonald's, all right, and which side is the fry machine on? Point with your hand. Which side is the fry machine? You're exactly right, left. All right. Which side is the shake machine? Yep, the right. Okay, let me see your lips. What color is the cheeseburger wrapper? Yeah, y'all have been eating at McDonald's way too much. You knew all. Okay, we all know that, right? It's 30,000 McDonald's. And if you want to have success and you buy McDonald's, you don't change the recipe. They don't have the best hamburger, right? We don't even know what it is. It's mystery meat. But they have a system. So when it comes to network marketing, basics are what create success. Fancy destroys your ability to go out and duplicate and have a big team and get customers and get customer getters and build it around your busy life. So it takes a genius to keep it simple. Be coachable, leave your background at the door. The next thing, number 2, you have to be willing to work. Okay, you have to be willing to work. And I know that sounds so simple. But my wife and I, we had, and my mom, we had a couple franchises, along with, I had a team in network marketing, 200 and some thousand people all over the world, 5 kids, and we had 2 franchises. Like, what were we thinking? And they were frozen yogurt franchises back in the frozen yogurt when they were booming, right? And one cost us about $300,000. One was $400,000. And you don't own the business owns you, right? But no one had to remind us to work. Like, you're out there working every day. And then finally, when you realize how many $4 cups of yogurt you have to sell just to get back your money, not counting the 5-year lease of several $1,000s a month, not counting the employees that steal from you, not counting the walk-in cooler went down one week, it was $8,000. The air conditioner at the same location went down, that was hundreds of dollars, right? The rug at the front door with the logo was $500. And this has been 7 years ago. The fudge warmer, okay, it just warms fudge, was like $500. And yet I was making more money in network marketing in 1 month than $700,000 worth of franchises combined in 1 year. But see the difference, what changed when I failed for 7 years, when I made good money for 7 years, and then I exploded, I'm sorry, for 13, then I exploded for the next 7, is the mindset shift. Okay, I treated it as if it was a multi-million-dollar business before it ever was. So the attitude comes before success, not the other way around. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean you have to work 100 hours a week? No, it does not. It means if you have 5 hours a week, if you have 10 hours a week, you make use of every minute that you have, right? It was a Green Compass leader, and I'm trying to remember the name. It's been a while back, but I remember she was plugging into the trainings, and she was like, "Hey, listen, I'm a teacher, and I've got 2 little kids, and my husband works a full-time job, right? I don't have a lot of contacts, and so what she would do is she would show up at work at 5:30 in the morning, sit in the parking lot and work until she went into school. Then she would work maybe during her lunch break. Then she would work at night, maybe after she got the kids in bed. I forget her exact schedule. Her first 2 weeks, she reached out to 100 to 150 people a week. Then she was reaching out to 10 to 15 people a day. I know she was one of the top recruiters. I know she hit one of the top positions in your company. And I remember going, okay, for all the people that are watching, because I was interviewing her on one of your trainings, I'm like, how many hours are you putting in a day? And she goes, around 2, 6 days a week, 12 hours a week into the business. So it's not how many hours you work. It's not how much you do. It's the effectiveness of what you do. So she's like, hey, you got 10 or 12 hours, you got 600 minutes plus, just making sure that you're working, doing the right things during those minutes. You have to be willing to work. And let me just tell you this, okay? I told you I'm going to be real with you. Well, let me do that in a second. I'll come back to that. But you have to be willing to work. Well, no, let me go tell you now. At first, you're going to work so hard, and you're going to look at your little paycheck, and some of y'all are laughing already because you've already thought it. You're like, look at my little cute paycheck. It's just so cute, right? And you're like, I can't believe, like, my spouse is negative. Everybody's laughing at me. People are stealing my samples. Like, I feel like crying half the time, right? You're an emotional wreck because you're looking and it's so small. But here's what happens. You got in, and at one point, you're so excited. You're in the no sleep zone. Anybody been in the no sleep zone yet? Okay, maybe tonight. You're like a chihuahua jacked up on Red Bull. If you can imagine, right? If you ever seen a chihuahua, imagine it on Red Bull. That's crazy. And you're like, man, finally, like, I don't have to work until I die. I talk to people, and we don't put down jobs because that doesn't make people want to come to you to learn more about your business. I have people that bash jobs, and I'm like, don't do that. That's going to give people resistance. It's not going to want people to attract people to you. But some people love their job, but they would like to do it because they want to, not because they have to. And so now you're like, man, maybe I don't have to work until I die. Maybe it would be so nice to get that, pressure off of, financial pressure off of my back. Having that dark cloud of money hang over our head with every decision that we make. And so the dream machines turn back on. Then you message 10 people, you talk to 10 people, and they say some stupid, crazy things, right? You want me to give you one funny story? Which, by the way, here's a side tip. Story sell, facts tell. Story sell, facts tell. People remember stories 22 times more than facts. So everything I teach and I train and I coach, I'm always using stories. When we went to kiddos to bed, our parents told us bedtime stories, not bedtime facts. But this one lady, I was in a company that had a skin cream, and I was doing a 3-way call. And this lady's like, you know what? I don't like it. And I'm like, well, why not? And she's like, she said, true story. She said the face cream, the face lotion gave her gas. And I'm like, lady, are you drinking it? Like, how does putting lotion on your face give you gas? Like, don't blame the burrito you ate for lunch or something. But the whole point is, you'll remember that story when you have people say stupid things to you. And remember, not everybody's going to see it. And people go, man, I wish everybody saw the Green Compass story. How powerful? No, you don't. Don't want what you don't want. They say opportunities go through 3 phases: ridiculed, opposed, actually violently opposed, and then self-evident. But only 3% ever get involved in the first 2 most profitable phases, which is ridiculed and opposed. I met a guy. He was in Chicken Soup for the Entrepreneurial Soul. He had 12 300 square foot cell phone stores in the late 80s. That was back when you talk to 10 people about a cell phone and they go, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. No one's ever going to have that in their car. The reception is terrible. It's thousands of dollars. And 9 out of 10 people laughed at him. In the early 90s, AT&T paid him $14 million for 12 cell phone stores losing money. There were only 300 square foot each. So let me ask you this. Would you rather sell cell phones now where it's hard to make a living? If you talk to 10 people, all 10 know what it is. Even your little 2-year-old grandchild, and they can work the phone better than we can. Or would you rather go back when 9 out of 10 people laughed at him, right? Don't want what you don't want. Most people are not going to see what you see. So you're going to get in the no sleep zone. Then when somebody says something crazy, because your excitement is high, your knowledge is low, then you're in the self-doubt zone. Or maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe my negative friends and family are right. And remember, the only way you don't have people talk about you is don't have anything, do anything, or be anything. Right? Live a life of insignificance. Dogs do not bark at a parked car. And what happens, our friends and family, they don't even realize they're doing it a lot of times. But when you start going for the next level, it makes them feel bad about themselves. And so it's easier to tear your building down than to build their building bigger. And the same ones that said it's never going to work, I can't believe you're doing that thing, later on will ask you for money, or they'll tell people how they know you. Trust me, right? Vision is seeing it before the masses see it. So it's an emotional roller coaster. You're up, then you're down. Then they go, hey, you've never seen anybody. Maggie, you have never seen anybody do what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to make you rich. Like, I know all these people. I know Bill Gates. I had a woman one time told me that she was personal friends with Bill Gates. She was going to be on his yacht. And it's been many years ago. And she could get him to market the products. I sent her a bunch of stuff. She took it. She went into the witness protection program. I never heard from her again. I got scammed, right? So you'll have people that tell you they're going to do all this stuff. Then you're back down. And it's up and it's down. It is an emotional roller coaster. If you have not felt like quitting, you have just not been in the business long enough. Give it some time. But again, Jim Rohn says, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And when you're going through the challenges, it took me 48 years of my life to realize this. Challenges and obstacles are your best friends. In Think and Grow Rich, he talked about, unless you go through the challenges and you experience failure, you're never introduced to the next better version of yourself. So set a goal, not just to go through the challenges, but to grow through the challenges. Obstacles lead to elevation. It's not the easy times that make us grow. And you go, Darin, I wanted to know, give me some specific, we don't have enough time to go into specific recruiting and getting customers and retention and team building and systems. And we don't have time for that. But I know if I work on your attitude and your philosophy, because if we don't get this straight, you won't stay strong enough, long enough to even get to the how-tos. If you look at any company, right? Green Compass, you all have the same company. You all have the same products, the same ingredients in the products, the same compensation plan, the same systems and tools. What's the only difference? You're the messenger. You're not the message. You just want to work on being the best messenger that you possibly can. Okay. But you have to be willing to put in the work. And you will have people like I did going, man, we're in it to win it. Okay. You can count on us. Every one of my close friends and family quit. Every one of them. And it was sad. But your friends and family have to know you love them, you care about them, but you're going to push through no matter what. Okay. With or without them. You're not telling them that, but they have to know from your posture and because you're going with or without them. Right? Don't look back unless you want to go that way. Number 3, Okay, so 3 things you have to be successful. If you don't have these 3 things, you're not going to make it. But the good news, you're on here. I guarantee you have all 3. Number 3, and I want you to listen to this one very carefully, and I'll give you as much as I can in the next 5 minutes. You have to have desire. Desire. And I remember people saying, Darin, Think and Grow Rich. You have to have a white hot burning desire. The billionaire that I work with, who had 40 companies in 60 countries, paid for 1,000 kids a year to go to college. Back when I was with him, he had given away $400 million to charity at that point, right? One of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. And when they say you have to have a white hot burning desire, I was like, okay, well, how do I get it? Well, motivation comes from motive for your actions. So if I had time to sit down with you face to face and I go, Shelly, tell me what's most important to you in your life right now. Okay. Chad, tell me why you joined the business. What's most important to you in your life right now? It's not the money. You have to put an emotional attachment to the money. And here's what's fascinating. And I wish I could do a 2-hour training on this, and I get so excited about it because it changed my life. As you can tell, I'm leaning forward, and I love teaching people this stuff. But when Paul Meyer, the late billionaire, he goes, "What thou seest, thou beest." He goes, anything you ever achieve, you achieve in your head first. And he said things like this, and he didn't know the science back then. He goes, Darin, we magnetize the condition that we seek. It is true that what you think about and you speak about, you bring about. They now know that your brain does not know the difference in reality and what you tell it. And our mind is so powerful. There's documented studies where people that have multiple personality disorders, they switch to the other personality and their eye color will change. I saw one study where I forget what country, but they'll spin a bone around. And if it lands on that person, they believe death is inevitable. And their belief is so strong they will die immediately of a self-induced heart attack. And so now they've proven with science that your brain doesn't know the difference of reality and what you tell it. So you can visualize an experience and your body produces the same chemicals and endorphins as if it actually happened. Right? It encodes it as an actual memory. So imagine hitting that rank, paying off your debt, retiring your spouse, right? Buying your parents a home, giving to that charity, giving to that church. So when you do that, and that's why, by the way, it's good or bad. People that are addicted to drama, if they don't have drama, they create it because we get addicted to our own drugs. People go, man, no matter, I take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Bad things always happen to me. And it's so true, right? So you have to think about what you're thinking about. And you move in the direction of what's familiar. So when Paul Meyer told us, he's like, man, I want you to do a dream board. And I'm like, a dream board? I remember thinking, I didn't say it out loud, I'm not a kindergartner. Like, what are we, first grade? We're going to do copy and cut and paste. I'm like, well, wait a minute. It was his private jet that I flew in. It wasn't mine. Okay. He's the one paying for 1,000 kids a year to go to college, not me. It was his place in the Cayman Islands that we went and visited, not mine. If he says do a dream board, I don't have to know how it works, right? Just tell me what to do. And so there's a thing called the reticular activating system. It's a filter. Okay, in our mind, your brain is designed to block most of the things out or it would drive you crazy. Okay, if you ever are in a coffee shop and you heard and paid attention to everything going on around you, it would drive you crazy. So you have to tell your brain what you want, and your brain wants to be right. I used to say we have 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day. The majority of those are subconscious. 90% of your thoughts today are the same that you made yesterday. And your subconscious makes more decisions than your conscious mind. And you go, Darin, how does this deal with my business? I'm getting there, right? So reticular activating system. Well, let me give you an example. Your brain wants to be right, and you have to tell it what you want. I can't recruit. It goes into your subconscious mind. Here are all the reasons that you can't recruit. I used to say, I can't afford it. Your brain goes, you're right. Here are all the reasons that you can't afford it. Instead of going, how can I afford it? Then it goes to work being creative, giving you all the ways to solve that problem. So the reticular activating system is like you're driving, you've never noticed how many cars are on the road like the one you're driving until you bought it. They were there before. It's the awareness. So when you set your goals, I have screensavers on my phone, on my computer. I have things on my whiteboard. I have things behind me that remind me of Hawaii and all the fun things we like to do, because I know that your subconscious is always recording. We check our phone an average of 400 times a day. And so I want to make sure that I'm programming that reticular activating system so it will let things in to serve your goals and block things out that do not. So I hope that wasn't, I was trying to condense some down. I hope that wasn't too much, but here's the thing. The way you create desire is know why you're in the business. And you want to spend time digging deep. It's not the money. Because when you go through that emotional roller coaster, right, and you're working harder than you're getting paid, and people are being negative, you're going to remember why. That's going to help you continue to push through to get to the other side. And the day of disgust, one of them for me was when I had my daughter and we were saying, someday we'll go to Disney World. Okay, someday. How many of us grew up hearing that from our parents? My dad passed away 11 years ago last month on his deathbed saying someday. And guess what? Someday never came. But I've learned that some people's some days are other people's every days. And someday leads to a town called nowhere. And so when I was telling my daughter someday, and she came into our bedroom and we had a big Coca-Cola plastic piggy bank that we were putting change in, saying someday we'll go to Disney World, because we grew up, we had no vacations, very couple maybe, that somebody else paid for. And there were many vacations. And she sees my wife and I on the floor on our hands and knees going through the change just to get enough to go eat, right? And she goes, and she runs in and sees me taking her money for Disney World and starts crying and runs out of the room. And I remember looking up going, God, how can I get so low that I'm taking my child's money for Disney World? And I go, that's it. I've had it. And sometimes it doesn't hurt bad enough. The farmer that's on a rocking chair, he's in a rocking chair and he's rocking back and forth, and the neighbor's walking by and said, hey, mister, your dog is under the porch and he's laying on a nail. And he goes, don't worry about it. When it hurts bad enough, he'll move. Sometimes it doesn't hurt bad enough. We have friends and family, or maybe it's been us, they won't participate in their own rescue. You throw them the life jacket, they don't grab it. So for me, that was my day of disgust. I walked out of there. I walked into my office, which was just a room with no bed. And I put on the wall, I will until. And then a mentor of mine said, Darin, success is buried right underneath frustration. And I'm like, well, I have to be close because I can't get any more frustrated, right? And so if you have those three things, if you're coachable and you're willing to work and you've got desire, then I promise you, you can build a massive business. Is it a process? Yes, it's a process. And here's the challenge. Okay, when I was sitting in the back of a room having a pity party for myself, right? There was a mentor of mine that told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. He goes, Darin, I'll see you in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm like, you won't see me in Nashville, Tennessee. Like, I live in Virginia. He's like, why not? The big event coming up? I'm like, I can't afford it. He goes, what did you just say? I go, I can't afford it. And he said, don't admit it. And I didn't like that. And it rubbed me the wrong way, which meant it was meant for me. I'm like, what do you mean don't admit it? How many years have you been working? My entire life. And you can't afford to take off like 72 hours, to go work on not your job, but your fortune. Darin, you're only a few days away from financial devastation. If anything happens to you, your health, your house, your car, for things to change, you've got to change. The definition of insanity is doing what you've always done, but yet expecting to get something different, right? I was using excuses and I go, well, let me, I have kids. I don't have a lot of time. Okay. We say that like it's a disease sometimes. I got the kids. You got the kids, right? And he's like, I thought your kids were your reason. I didn't know you were going to use your kids as an excuse. You want daycare raising your kids, or do you want to raise your kids? I didn't like it. And then I go, well, let me think about it, which was code for, let me call my broke friends and family and ask them what they think. Who gives a rip? They're broke. None of you are going to message me on social media after this and go, Darin, I just have to know, what are your top hair care tips? Will you please share with me? You're not going to ask me that. Well, that's how crazy it is to ask a broke person what they think about when it comes to financial advice. Someone that's never had success in business asking their opinion. If we buy it, we buy their lifestyle. So when I stopped hanging out with people that had my same problems, started hanging out with people that had the solutions and the life that I wanted, things changed, right? But what happened, I was sitting in that back room. They were looking for my car, trying to repossess it. So I went to that event and I sat on the back row and I had a pity party. Well, they must come from big cities. I live in a small town. They must be great public speakers. I'll pass out in front of 5 people that I know if you make me get in front of a room at that point. They must have a college education. I have a lack of education. But then I heard one of the top leaders, a mentor, say this: can you get a little bit better today than you were yesterday? I'm like, a little bit better? I can do that. Can you read 10 pages out of a good book a day? I'm like, well, I mean, I read 10 pages, but I'm thinking about something else on 9 of those pages, and I have to reread it over and over and over again. But I can do it, but it takes me a while. Anybody else relate to that? Okay, true story. I bought a speed reading book several years ago and still have not finished it. That's a true story. It's sad, but it's true. I'm like, can I have a speed reading audio on how to speed read? But anyway, if you read 10 pages out of a good book a day, that's about a book a month. Most people don't read a book a year. So in 10 years, you've read 100, they hadn't read 10. Who's like that compounding effect? Like listen to 15 minutes on your way to work. Every day I consume. I get up, I have a morning ritual that I do. I have a nighttime ritual. And every day, man, I am consuming information over and over and over because I know I don't make what I want. I make what I am. I know I don't attract what I want. I attract what I am. I know if I want to make more, I have to become more. If I want to impact more people, I have to become more, right? And so when he taught me that, I'm like, okay, that's finally something I can do. I can get a little bit better today than I was yesterday. And that finally, right? And I started just about progress. And this is something to write down in your notes. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about progress, not perfection. But here's the frustrating part. You're doing the things on a daily basis, good or bad, that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them. But they compound, right? If I go eat a Big Mac, French fries, milkshake today, not going to impact my health that much, right? But if we walked into McDonald's and somebody's on the floor and you go, what happened? Well, they died. Well, why? They ate 1 Big Mac, French fries, and a milkshake, and they died immediately. We would never eat that again. But if I ate that every day, there was a documentary where a guy ate McDonald's every day and almost died in 30 days, right? He was slowly digging a grave with his teeth. So it's the simple errors in judgment or the simple disciplines that we do on a daily basis that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them that compound. So just keep that in mind. You got to focus on progress, not perfection, doing the right things, understanding, like you're prospecting, you're following up, you're plugging into the team trainings. You don't reap a harvest in the same season that you plant the seeds. But I don't know of another business model where you can go out there right now and the possibility, and by the way, I'm going to make an announcement in a couple weeks. Devin, I'll get it to you. But we're actually going to roll out a 4-week training, and I'm thinking I'm going to price it like $99, and it's going to be 4 7-figure earners, one every single week, talking about the power of a 90-day run. Okay, so if you want to jump on, you can. If you don't, that's okay too, but I'll get it to Devin. But I'm telling you, I don't know of another business model where you can look back and you have the ability not to recognize your life 90 days before. Now, it doesn't mean you're rich 90 days later. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean, the momentum you can create, the person you can become, the impact and the amount of people that you can help. Do you think that when I was 25, 22 years ago, when I was bankrupt and I was depressed and they repossessed my car and I couldn't feed my family. My house, we had sheets on the windows that were tacked. We couldn't afford curtains. People thought our house was abandoned because we didn't even have grass in our yard. People knew that I was a failure. Do you think that in my wildest dreams, I would think I'd be being interviewed by Grant Cardone or in John Maxwell's house or in Success Remote magazine 6 times or in books? No. And the only reason I share that, because I don't like talking about myself, I know pride comes before destruction, is I want to inspire you tonight to know, you know what? Treat every day as if it's the last day of our life. One day we're going to be right. And we're not going to get to the end of our life and go, man, thank God I played it safe. No, I want to give it all I have. The late Dr. Miles Monroe, he said the wealthiest place in the world are the graveyards. They're dreams. There are books that have never been written. There's songs that have never been written. So it's time we draw a line in the sand, right? And do it, getting motivated on this training tonight, that's easy. But what you do by yourself, you get praised in the light, what you do in the dark, right? It's frustrating. You're up and you're tired, right? I know when I'm working hard, I don't go to sleep, I fall asleep. But successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. And it's those times that you're going, I will do today what others want, to have tomorrow what others don't. And you don't feel like it, but you're just being a cheerleader to yourself. But they asked Helen Keller, I'll leave you with this because I know I went a little bit over. I want to make sure you got some value. When they go, you know what? Helen Keller, they said, what's worse than being blind? She said, having sight with no vision. And the late Dr. Miles Monroe said, sight is a function of the eyes. Vision is a function of the heart. So what is your vision? What is your dream? What thou seest, thou beest. Your vision is the magnet that pulls you into the future, right? And I'm telling you, you have those 3 things that I went over, you wouldn't be on here this long. You hung on here to the end. You took notes. You're plugging in. Now it's time to go do the work, okay? And it is going to be an emotional roller coaster. It is going to be frustrating, but is it worth it? Oh my gosh, my wife and I have now been stay-at-home parents for many years. Is it worth like going out there and putting in the next 6 to 12 months to never have to punch a time clock again, have the potential to never have to punch a time clock again unless you wanted to, right? Maybe you want to be the president of the 7-Eleven Club. I don't know. Maybe you don't even know what that is. You get up at 7 a.m., you watch your neighbors go to work while you're drinking your coffee, and you go back to bed till 11, right? You could do that. So to me, it's not the money, it's the freedom to know, guess what? I can take my kids to school every day. I can pick them up every day. I can eat lunch with them when they get out of school. I remember people that laughed at me about my little home-based business when we're going to Disney World and Hawaii and different places. And they're like, hey, when are you coming home? When we're ready. We don't have a job, you know, and that's just a good feeling to know you have complete freedom to do what you want when you want. And you have the ability to, you have the vehicle. You have the vehicle, you have the leadership, you have the products. I've taken the Green Compass products. I love their products. I've worked with the company. I love the company. I love the leaders. Devin is one of my favorite people in the world. That's why I'm doing this, right? Because I knew, you know what? I know where he's going. I love being a part of that journey. If I can do anything to help him on that journey, I want to do that. So Devin, I appreciate you allowing me and trusting me to spend some time with your team. And again, darinkid.com/3keys. Make sure you download that little, it's just a little, you know, simple little guide to kind of go with what I went over tonight. Yes, it was basic, but basics are what they're going to be the foundation of building you a business. Fancy doesn't duplicate. And 80% of production comes from new people. So why is that? The longer we're in the business, the more we know, right? And the more we think we have to explain. And we become compensation plan experts and all these different things, and we stop doing the basics. So remember to focus on the basics. So Devin, appreciate you, my friend, and hope everybody has an awesome rest of your night. I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for being on here, dude. It was, I mean, I don't know how I'm going to go to sleep right now. That was awesome. And guys, check him out. Follow him on Instagram. He puts up a ton of amazing content. Go to that website, and when he launches that 90-day blitz, that's gonna be something you're gonna want to be a part of, because think about it, like what he said, like you get to listen and hear about these 7-figure earners on how to do this business. It compresses time frames. You don't have to figure it out. Listen to what they're telling you, you do it, and it's gonna change your life. So Darin, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for it. It was just awesome. And let's freaking go, guys. Let's get after it. We have it. Let's make something special out of it. So everyone have a good night. You're gonna need some sleep boost. I know I will, because I'm not gonna have a hard time sleeping, but you guys have a good night. All right. Thanks, Darin.